Hey everybody, welcome to Cara's Cucina. I'm Cara Di Falco, and on this channel we encourage everyday people to live healthier by inspiring them to cook delicious food at home. I've got a great meal for you today. We are going to be making my great-grandmother's meat risotto with porcini mushrooms, as well as a fast and easy arugula salad. To make Nonni's risotto, we just need a couple of ingredients, and this is a real hearty dish. It's perfect for the wintertime, although we used to eat it all year round. So we have a thin sausage, a Laganica sausage, and this just comes like this, spiraled. We're gonna pull the skewers out of it. These are also great in the summertime for grilling, but we're actually gonna cut this one up. We've got about 1 pound of what is referred to here in Jersey as meatball mix. So it's 1/3 pound ground beef, ground veal, and ground pork. All ground beef would work as well if that's all that's available to you or all you can find. Some chicken stock, we've got some white wine, of course some Parmigiano Reggiano, onion, butter, and dried porcini mushrooms. So these, I'll hook you guys up with a link in the recipe at caradifalco.com, so you are able to order these online. So they're dried porcini mushrooms. They can sometimes be a little bit on the pricier side. Normally what my family does with these is we'll buy a big package of them and then split them up among the family so that they last in the fridge as long as they're sealed in a baggie or whatever, so they'll hold up for what you're paying for them, but just about a half cup of those. And then of course we've got about 1.5 cups of arborio rice. So to start our risotto, we're actually gonna start by reconstituting these mushrooms. So we're gonna put a little bit of warm water on them. We're just gonna set these aside to start soaking. And we're gonna get our chicken stock warmed up. You're gonna want about 5 cups. For our sausage, we're just gonna remove the skewers, and then I'm actually gonna kind of start to unravel this and just cut it into smaller pieces, just about 2 inches long. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna brown these first, and then we're gonna put them back into the risotto at the very end. Got our pan over medium-high heat, and we are gonna add in just a touch of olive oil, and then we are gonna start off by browning these sausages, and that's really gonna help prevent them from getting chewy in the risotto, and then it also kind of gives us, we'll get those nice brown bits into the base of our pan to get into our dish. Man down. So as our sausages start to brown up and they release easily from the pan, we can just flip them over. Get that nice color on the other side. Once your sausages are nice and brown on all sides, we're just gonna pull them out of the pan and set them aside on a plate. To our pan, now we're gonna add in some butter, about 1.5 tablespoons, and a little bit of olive oil. And we are gonna get in 1 onion chopped up. And now we have all those brown bits of sausage in the base of the pan. We can kind of start to scrape some of those up. So we're just gonna let our onions saute for about 2 minutes or so. And then we are going to get our beef mixture in here. Once your onion has started to soften, we're gonna add in our beef mixture. Just make sure there's no paper or anything underneath it. And we're gonna start to break this up and let it brown. So again, this is that mixture of beef, pork, and veal. Again, if you can't find that or you don't want to use it, regular beef will work, or you can even just do, sometimes I'll buy beef and pork, ground pork separately and just do a half and half mixture as well. But we always did this, it just winds up being the most flavorful combination. I can talk. And now you can kind of start to see the base of our pan. All of those brown bits have come up now, so there's nothing stuck to the bottom of the pan. All of that flavor is gonna go into the risotto. While our beef is browning in our pan, our mushrooms have gotten nice and soft. You can give them a little touch if you want to. So we're gonna strain these, but we wanna reserve the water that we soaked them in. So I'm just gonna put my strainer over a bowl. And then we'll set aside that liquid because we want all that flavor as well. And then we're just gonna roughly chop the mushrooms. Once we have little to no pink left on our meat mixture, we're gonna add in those mushrooms, the chopped mushrooms. And we're gonna let that meat just finish cooking. We'll let these mushrooms start to cook a little bit. And then we'll be ready to add in our rice. So as always with any risotto, and it's such a great dish, and I make a lot of them, and I make a lot of them here, but just because you have so many options. So whatever this kind of base set of flavors is, whatever you put in your pan, and it can be a more complex one like this, or it can be as simple as just butter and onion, that's gonna be the flavor of your risotto. So that's what makes this such a great, easy dish to make. It's done in 30 minutes, so it's always a good, weeknight meal. And it's one of those things that just kind of feels like you're having a fancy meal, but it's actually really simple. So my beef is completely browned now, nice small pieces. We're gonna add in our rice. So again, with risotto, we wanna use an arborio rice. It's a short grain rice from Italy. Only because a lot of times people will ask me, if they can use a regular white or brown rice that you might find, in other dishes, and it won't work in quite the same way. There's a lot of starch in this type of rice, and that's what makes risotto nice and creamy and have that nice texture that we're familiar with. So we just want this to, again, we want the rice to start to absorb all these flavors that we already have in the pan. And we want the grain to toast up a little bit. Now that our rice grains are toasted, we're gonna start by adding in first that liquid from the mushrooms. That'll be our first addition here. Once that mushroom liquid is absorbed, we're gonna add in 1 cup of white wine. So I like to use a Pinot Grigio, and it's one that I would drink as well. So again, same thing with risotto, just slowly adding in those liquids, letting the rice absorb it, letting it cook. And this is gonna take about another 18 minutes or so to cook. And rice, like pasta, you want it to be al dente, you don't want it to be mushy. So this is, certainly it's gonna soften up, but we don't want it to completely turn into baby food. Wine is absorbed, so now we're gonna start adding in our stock. So I'm using actually chicken stock today. Beef stock would be good, even vegetable stock is fine. So we're gonna start by adding in just about a cup. And same thing, just slow and steady. We're gonna let it keep cooking, let the rice absorb all of this liquid. And as it starts to look dry again, we'll add in some more of the warm stock. And before I forget, season as you go, we'll add a little salt and pepper as well. Okay, so our risotto's been cooking for about 15, almost 18 minutes now. I'm just gonna give it a quick taste, just to check for doneness. A few more minutes, which is good. But at this point, we're gonna add our sausages back in and let them finish heating through with the rest of the rice. And you do wanna taste it as you go, see if it needs salt and pepper. And we're gonna add in this last bit of stock as well. And we're just gonna let this finish cooking. So to finish up our risotto, I'm just gonna chop some fresh parsley. And I always think it's funny. So my great grandmother, whose recipe this is, you always have to have something green in your dish. Always, always, always something green. And on top of that, we always used to laugh because when she would take photos, you always had to be touching something green as well. So there's always like plant life in all of her photos. It was her own cute little way of always adding life to things. And so in this case, it's going to be some nice fresh parsley. But before we get that in our pan, we've got some Parmesan cheese. That's gonna go in first. We'll grate that right in there. Clearly no need to be shy on your cheese. But again, if you wanted to make this dairy-free, you can certainly skip this part, and you can see that the risotto itself is plenty creamy. It's got that texture, so it's not cheese or butter necessarily that makes that texture in risotto. It's the grain of rice and the amount of starch that it has. That looks good. Let's get this parsley in here. Right, so even this heavy winter dish gets a little life added to it. And I'm just gonna turn off the heat on this and set it aside while we make our salad. The salad that I love to make with this dish, and again, because the risotto dish is heavy and there's a lot of meat in there, I want something really light and refreshing to go alongside of it. So I'm gonna show you how I make my favorite lemon and arugula salad. So I have just a dry pan here and some pine nuts, pignoli nuts, and we're just gonna really gently toast these before adding them to our bowl. And this salad, really easy, just a handful of things. So it's pine nuts, lemon, Parmesan, the same Parmesan cheese that we used in the risotto, and of course I'm using arugula. If you don't like arugula or you can't find it, obviously spinach or a spring mix, any of those things work well here. But I like the arugula with it because it has that peppery flavor, and I think it goes really well with the Parmesan and the lemon. So we're just gonna let these pine nuts toast up just until they start to turn color. So keep an eye on them because it'll go fast, and if you burn them, you gotta toss them. Okay, as soon as we shake this enough and we can start to see we're getting some color on these, we're gonna turn off the heat, and these can actually go right into our bowl. They might stick a little bit because you can see we started to get some of the oils out of them, so I'll grab a spoon here. Next, we're gonna add in some of our Parmesan cheese. So my favorite thing to do with this, because I kind of like big pieces of it, is to just take your vegetable peeler and pull slices off. And again, this is all really to taste, so you can put in as much as you want. Just make sure you don't get the rind end of the cheese. And anytime I build a salad, I always kind of put my stuff, anything besides my lettuce, in the bottom first. So this way, if I needed to sit out on the countertop before I'm serving dinner, I'm ready to dress it, everything can kind of sit in the bowl that way before you put your dressing on, or oil and acid, which is basically what we're doing today. And then it won't get soggy and the lettuce won't kind of get weighed down. Now this is the other question that I always get asked, and it's what kind of dressing do you use? I'm really not a dressing person per se. I really prefer to just kind of use either oil and vinegar, or in this case, we're gonna use oil and lemon juice. And because I'm using arugula, and arugula has that really peppery taste to it, I'm just gonna season with salt and not pepper, because I think there's plenty of that flavor in the arugula for me. So a bit of salt, olive oil, and then we're just gonna take a nice fresh lemon wedge and squeeze that right over. We'll get this all tossed together and plate everything up. Serve your risotto with an extra sprinkle of Parmesan cheese and your salad on the side. Guys, as always, both recipes will be available at caradifalco.com. You can follow me, Facebook and Instagram at Cara Di Falco. That is it for this week in the Cucina. I will see you guys next time. Buon appetito.